friends and making sure they're okay.
And where are you all going now?
I'm waiting for them to clear 6 because my car is parked right outside student parking, and then I'm taking her home.
And what was it like to actually get to the school? Because it took us a long time to actually get to this location.
I actually was probably one of the first parents that pulled in. There wasn't a lot of traffic when I got here. I just pulled straight into the driveway to the student parking and just ran over.
And to other parents out there, what would you want to say to them?
I have no words. It's just horrible. It's just horrible.
We're so glad that your daughter is okay and that you were able to get to your daughter. We are actually at the Chevron gas station here, which is very close to the high school. It's about 0.3 miles. We've been blocked off many locations. I've been talking with the Brazoria County Sheriff's Department, and they've blocked off several areas, and they said it's because they have ambulances and all other types of emergency vehicles that are headed over there. That's why they want to make sure that they are able to get through. So all media has been directed over to this area, so you can see that many folks are here, and we've also seen multiple school buses because I believe that they are busing over students to the Alamo Gym, which is over on Highway 6. So many of the students have not gone home yet. They're just being bused over to that area, and you can see here where parents are talking with some of the other media, and they're also just gathering here. And we've also seen, as we were traveling up 45, the Gulf Freeway, or traveling down, I should say, multiple law enforcement vehicles, and I tweeted that video out to show you what was going on. And it's just been really a horrific sight here for so many of those parents as we got here to the scene. Many of them were very, very emotional, obviously, as you can understand. I'm going to talk to this lady right over here, see if she's okay. And she's this is a mother and a daughter right now that are talking here. So again, we'll try to get you some more information from here in the area, but that's what's going on here, and we are just waiting to hear more information on any of the injuries. But like you can tell from their faces that they're just really relieved that they're able to get their children to safety, and that it's a happy ending for them here. But of course, we'll keep you posted with anything else that we find out. For now, reporting live in Santa Fe, Rashi Batts, Fox 26 News.
All right, thank you for that update, Rashi. We've been closely keeping an eye on Santa Fe ISD's information, trying to wait for new statements to come in. This one just came in. They are now saying the situation is active but has been contained, and they are now confirming that we've been hearing from all the different students that there are injuries, and it says details will be released as they receive updated information. So they're not letting us know exactly how many at this point. They just go on to say law enforcement will continue to secure the building and initiate all emergency management protocols to release and move students to another location. All other campuses are operating under their regular schedules, and we also want to let you know that earlier Dickinson ISD put a lockdown in place. That and all the neighboring schools have been lifted as well. Now, this is an important update that we want to make sure you know if you have a student there. Students from the high school are being transported by probably all those buses that you see there to Alamo Gym. That is located in the 13,000 block of Highway 6. So if you have a student that you have not been able to get a hold of, but perhaps they forgot their cell phone today, you are able to go to that location and pick up your student. Again, Alamo Gym, located at 13,306 Highway 6, and we'll be closely waiting to hear back from the district as more information becomes available.
You know, I'm surprised that the district has not given out a particular number for parents to call, because usually in a situation like this, they would give out a number for you to call in order to find out exactly where you can meet up with your child. This time they did give a location. The Alamo Gym, you said, in the 13,000 block of Highway 6, and many parts of Highway 6 near the school have been on or blocked off, I should say. No traffic going in either direction, so you may have to find your way through some of the back streets in order to get to that location to see where your child is. But they do have a lot of buses lined up. Maybe those will be the ones that will be transporting many of those students who are still in that particular area. Don't know whether there might be students inside the building, since they do have the situation contained, as you were reading that notice from the district. But you know, it's just a terrible situation. You know, you've got students who one who actually said, never thought this would happen at my school. It's a horrible situation to happen, whether it's at your school or any other school, but it happened in your backyard right here at Santa Fe High School.
For anyone just joining us, about an hour and 45 minutes ago, shots were heard there at Santa Fe High School. Then they heard a fire alarm. Students ran out. Then quickly they heard more loud bangs, and students were told to run to safety. We were able to talk to a student who says he was right there in the middle of it all. He saw the shooter. He saw them shooting other students, and he said that this student had a sawed-off shotgun, and he said he saw him also with a pistol. Also, he said that this student is known to wear a trench coat and boots, and that is the only way that he described this person to us.
We have another student interview we'd like to bring to you, so let's go to this particular student now.
I was in the back, first period upstairs, fire alarm went off. We went out, and three big loud booms going off, and everyone was just looking over there, like, just standing there, like, what's going on? And then three more going on, and all the teachers just said, just run, just go, just go. So that's what we did.
So you didn't see the shooter, you just heard it and ran?
Half the kids.
I've had people telling me there's several people shot, and it's on the news.
Half the kids went behind the auto parts store, and then half the kids went to the Shell or the car wash. And it was just pretty much like 30 minutes, just a state of panic. Everyone really didn't know what was going on, and then we just started moving down the road.
All right, we keep hearing from these students, so brave to be able to talk to us. We have, obviously, Sky Fox on the scene. We also have Rashi Vats there on the ground in the middle of it all.
Let's check back with her. Rashi.
So we have parents and we have students that we've heard from, and we also have a citizen that we are talking with. Brent, so you heard about this. How exactly did you hear about it?
My wife works in the district, and she sent me a message on our way to school this morning, so I came up here as quick as I could to offer my support.
And you said that 2 weeks ago there was a drill.
Well, about 2 months ago, this school had a scare where they thought it was a gunshot, but it wasn't. But same kind of thing happened. Lots of scared parents and students.
And so when you got that call or text message from your wife, what was your reaction? What were you thinking?
Just your heart sinks, you know. This time is different. Some people lost their lives today. I heard an officer was down. Not a good day. So anything that I can do just to offer some comfort and support.
We don't, just to be clear, we don't have any official word yet on if there are any fatalities, but we do know that several people were injured. And so you're holding up an American flag, and why do you want to do that?
I think it's something that brings comfort to people. If you can't tell, part of the reason I'm here is to make America great again. And the American flag offers so many things that people should find comfort in. And after an event like this, there's two types of people. There's those that want to pray to Jesus to help the community, and there's those that want to prey upon the victims. And this flag represents which side that I'm on.
And you live obviously in this community. This being so close and in your backyard, really, how does that make you feel?
It's always too close to home when anything like this happens, even if it was in a different state. Where we go one, we go all, right? So just prayers for the families and everybody that's impacted by this.
All right, we appreciate your time here. And I just want to show you back here, you can see that there's a lot of law enforcement out here. We've also seen helicopters as well. We're going to keep trying to talk to some more people who are coming here to the Chevron gas station where all the media has been staged here, but you can see no one is able to get through. But like Brent was saying, just offering comfort is the biggest thing right now for so many family members and parents at this time. Reporting live at Santa Fe, Rashi Vats, Fox 26 News.
Everyone in the community is concerned about the situation that happened at Santa Fe High School this morning. One particular shooter, one student we had on our live phone line said that this person wore a trench coat and boots most of the time, and he described the weapons that the individual had as a sawed-off shotgun and a pistol. There is a little bit of confusion regarding when the fire alarm went off, but there has been speculation that the individual who is now in custody may have pulled the alarm himself. That would be a tactic to get people in the line of fire, to get them out into a group.
And that has been a little confusing because the last student, that's been the eyewitness account of everyone there so far, except for one student says that he saw it happen, he told his teacher, and then the fire alarm went off.
So he thinks it was a teacher who pulled the fire alarm.
And then what's interesting too is he says that he saw a pistol and a shotgun, and it seems that no one heard those first shots, so it just makes you wonder if it was the lower caliber, maybe it was the pistol at that point, and then once the fire drill went, if the shotgun went off, because then they were able to hear those loud booms. But just waiting to find out what in the world happened. We do know that we heard from the assistant principal who confirms that shooter is in custody. Santa Fe ISD saying that the situation is active but contained. We're assuming they mean active because there is a very serious investigation going on this campus at this moment.
Now, Life Flight apparently is leaving. Don't know whether there was a patient inside the helicopter right now or not, but we do have confirmation from the district that there were injuries. They did not say specifically how many there were, and then we also had a report that an officer was down, so that could mean that an officer was wounded, maybe in an exchange of gunfire with the individual whom we are still trying to find an identity on.
And I want to encourage you, if you're watching social media, just to be very careful to use that as your information, because I am telling you the stories are all over the place, from the number of injuries to what happened. And so we're being very careful to try to bring you information that is coming straight from people who are there. Sally McDonald is closely monitoring what all is happening. And Sally, it can be very confusing and it can be upsetting for parents, especially if they haven't been able to talk to a student who goes to that school.
Absolutely. You should definitely stay tuned to your local media, because we are getting the official updates first, and we'll be able to share those with you. Of course, like you said, there are a lot of rumors on social media right now, and the school leaders are really just urging parents to talk to your kids and keep a close eye on them today. In fact, a reporter for the Chronicle who works down in Galveston County, Nick, just tweeted this out, something from the assistant principal at Santa Fe High School. She told him, "I want to tell parents to stay calm and to be there for your student, to comfort and keep a good eye on your student, and make sure if they want to talk about it or get sad or frustrated about the whole situation, just be there for them." Right now, parents can reunite with their students at the Alamo Gym that is located on Highway 6. We also have this brand new picture from the Harris County Sheriff's Office, a very close look on the ground there for you. Harris County Sheriff's Office, this is not in Harris County, but they are assisting because of this, what they call a multiple casualty incident at Santa Fe High School. They also say the worst is over. There's no longer an active shooting situation, and they say the injured are being treated. We, of course, have gotten confirmation that there are injuries. We do not have an official number yet, though, for you. Philip tweeted to us, "It's so sad that another school shooting has happened. We have to find more ways to protect students and find ways to protect them." Zach, who we interviewed live here on our broadcast just a few moments ago, told us that his friend who was right next to him was hit, and then he ran to the other side of the campus and started banging on the door until his teacher opened it. And then that's when he told the teacher to get everyone out, and then that's when he says the fire alarm was pulled. So again, the exact sequence of events seems to vary from who you talk to, but we will get an official account as soon as officers are able to speak with us. Avery says, "I never thought this would happen at my school." Of course not. You prepare for this. And they have had active shooter drills, as many schools across the country have. But this time, students had to call their parents and tell them it's real this time. And that was just an incredibly difficult call on both ends. Candace says, "I can't even describe the feeling of my heart sinking due to an active shooter on campus. Please keep Santa Fe ISD in your prayers." Lex, who is also there, says it was the scariest thing that's ever happened. We've heard from students this morning who were very, very emotional, as the whole morning has just been so overwhelming. Skylar, who we also spoke with on the phone, says praying for everyone. Luckily, My friends and I made it out, and we found a safe place to stay. Please keep Santa Fe High School in your prayers, and we'll continue to keep an eye on social media. If there's any good information that we can share with you, we will certainly do that. Melissa, Jose.
All right, Sally, thanks for monitoring that. I know the information is coming in so quickly, and we really appreciate it.
Yes, and hopefully we can get some additional information from Mark. Are you there on our phone line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mark, you're a freshman at the school, so where was your class and what did you hear?
I was actually in ISS, oddly enough, and we just heard the fire alarm go off. Everybody was getting out of the building. And when we got out there, teachers were like yelling at us, go, 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 go across Highway 6 to behind the Indian store.
And so you got back, so you did that? You were behind there and just waiting to find out what was going on? What?
Yes. Originally people were saying that, because there was a fire alarm, people were saying that the chemistry, someone spilled a chemical on the ground, and that's why all this stuff is happening.
Mm-hmm. But then you found out what was going on. Can you tell us what you are hearing and what you have you heard any kind of motive or what could have sparked this?
Actually, my best friend, I'm not going to say any names, but my best friend was actually in the classroom with the shooter.
And what did your best friend tell you?
So here's what he said. He said that his class going normal, and someone busted into the classroom, yelled surprise, smiled, and shot. He shot 3 kids. He shot 3 kids dead.
That's the first that we are hearing of that. So we are. That's pretty surprising news. Okay, so
what did he do after that? Did he continue in that classroom, or did he leave?
Him and about 8-ish other people ran into the ceramic closet in that classroom.
Okay, so this is what your friend said that he witnessed.
Yes.
So 3 people were shot when the gunman came into the room and yelled surprise?
Yeah, he yelled surprise, smile. He had a sawed-off pump-action shotgun.
And we also heard that he had a pistol. Did your friend say anything about that?
No, he only said something about the pistol. But not the pistol, the shotgun.
On the shotgun. Okay, and then your friend was one who ran into the ceramic closet at this time?
Yes, him and about 8 other people. He got shot at 4 times and did not get hit once, though.
My goodness, thank goodness for that. Okay, so do you know how officers were able to get the suspect? Do you know what happened and what stopped this shooting from happening?
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
Do you know how the shooter was taken down? How did they capture him?
He told me that he was arguing with police officers, but that's as far as he knows.
That's all he knows.
Doesn't know how he got apprehended.
Mm-hmm.
But he is in custody from what you know?
Yes.
Can you give us an idea as to how many people may have been injured? You just talked about 3, but apparently the gunman kept shooting.
Yes. Apparently there's way more than 3. People are saying at least 5.
At least 5 people were shot?
Yes.
And were they all in that one classroom?
Some people were telling me there was 2 shooters, but a lot of people tell me there's only 1, and they went into 2 classrooms. Mm-hmm. But as far as I know, 3 people were shot dead, but 5 more people might have got injured.
How was your friend doing to have been a witness of something so horrific?
I went to his house, and he was bawling his eyes out. He was crying a lot.
I can only imagine. And at this time, because he is an eyewitness, are officers talking to them? Are they taking his statement? Or are they just letting him take a break and try to gather his thoughts of everything that he has just witnessed?
I don't know if the officers have talked to him yet. Mm-hmm. I don't think they've even asked him anything yet. Mm-hmm. I think they just let him go because he went home.
Now, Mark, one of the other students that we spoke with was saying that the shooter wore a trench coat and boots. Does this give you an indication? I mean, have you seen someone like that on campus, and do you possibly know this individual?
No, sir.
So did your friend tell you who he saw do it? Did he know him?
Could you repeat that one time, ma'am?
I'm sorry. Did your friend tell you who it was? Did he know who the shooter was?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
All he said was that he looked like one of us, like a freshman sort of. He wasn't too tall. He was kind of skinny a little bit, like lengthy, I guess is the word. And that's all he got.
So he just described him as tall and thin.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Are there any of your other friends who may have been involved with this particular situation, running out of the classroom after hearing the shots or hiding inside that ceramic closet?
I don't know anybody else that was in there. I only got his side story.
Well, I am so terribly sorry that you are all having to go through this, that your best friend witnessed something that no one should ever have to see in their school. And you're just really brave to be able to tell us what happened. And I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you, ma'am. This is the second time this year.
Yeah, you had a big scare earlier, right? Nothing actually happened, but it was pretty scary, I understand. Were there loud sounds or something and you all thought it was a shot?
Yes, ma'am.
But this time was a real deal. Do you think that last time maybe at first made you guys numb, like, oh no, it's just a mistake again, maybe to a lot of people? All right. Well, Mark, you are so brave again to talk to us. Thanks for taking time today.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. You take care of yourself. I know that you're going to have to work.
Have a nice day.
All right. I know you're going to have to work through a lot of emotions, and you make sure you do that, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All
now,
right.
we have received some word that Harris County is considering this a mass casualty situation. So we're possibly thinking in terms of multiple deaths at this high school, which is a horrible situation to think of. And whether those were students, whether they were teachers, administrators, and then we also got a report earlier that there was an officer down. Don't know whether that was a school officer or whether that was an officer that came to the school in order to confront the gunman. But either way, it's still being considered a mass casualty situation by Harris County officials. We have not heard from Galveston County officials, but they are working together in conjunction with this investigation to try and bring it to fruition. They haven't spoken with a lot of the students, but they will be canvassing the area and talking to as many students as they can who are on scene and who also may be at the area where the parents are allowed to pick up their students, which is the Alamo Gym in the 13,000 block of Highway 6. Just a terrible situation for parents as well as the students who were in there. And those who witnessed it, they will have that memory for the rest of their lives.
All right, and we understand that the sheriff has just arrived there on the scene and will hopefully be setting up an area to talk to media in just a little while. We're trying to be so careful with everything that we report in a situation where students are saying 3 people were shot dead. You know, that's certainly an eyewitness thought. We don't know that that's a situation. We're just waiting to get that official word from officers to find out exactly what happened. But so many different stories coming in, all of this unfolding about 2 hours ago, and lives there in Santa Fe ISD changed forever now because of this situation.
Those students will have to go to counseling. Those students will have counselors at the school in order to help them deal with the situation. But sometimes in a situation like this, they will close the school for a while and not have anyone in the building until a complete investigation is done. And that's just going to give these students time to think about what happened. Just a terrible situation for them to experience. But for those of you who are just joining us, report of gunfire, an active shooter at Santa Fe High School. We are told that the active shooter right now is in custody and that there are multiple casualties on the scene. In fact, it was termed a mass casualty situation by Harris County officials not too long ago.
And just sickening to think about what our last witness told us. He said that this shooter walked in, yelled surprise, and opened fire on those students. And when you think of the word surprise, it's supposed to be a happy, wonderful time, not the scariest situation of your life, which is the exact quote that we're hearing from one student after another at Santa Fe High School this morning. As you can tell from there on your screen, on the right side, you see all of the officers lined up. We understand that even Houston has gone to this area to try to help out. On the left-hand side, it gives you a better idea of exactly where Santa Fe is if you are not familiar with that area.
The highways going to that particular area are blocked off. A lot of traffic in the area. They're going to have to find alternate routes if they are going to try and get by, if they're not involved with the situation at all, not looking for a child, not looking for any student that has been moved to the Alamo Gym right now. But it is just a crazy situation because information is coming slowly to us. We are getting a lot of information via social media, but sometimes you cannot trust everything on social media because there have been reports that really did not jive with what officials end up telling us. But this is a situation that's being watched closely by everyone in our area, and we are trying to gather as much information as we can, and sometimes that information has to come from interviews with some of the students. Just something that you really did not want to deal with, and now these students are going to have to deal with this, and they're going to live with it for the rest of their lives.
And so many students, we're talking about approximately 1,400 students attend this high school. So you have more than 1,000 kids all at one time running from that area for their lives. They were told and instructed by their teachers, who a lot of the students say the teachers were so calming and they were so in charge, telling them to run, hide behind cars, hide behind buildings. Some of the students ran into the woods and hid behind trees. Others ran into a neighborhood that runs right behind that school, and they were back there running to friends' houses, just anything they could do to make sure that they were safe. You see the bus is there. Now, for anyone who has not been able to get a hold of your student, not every single child has a cell phone. If you've not been able to get a hold of them, it's important to know that they will be going to a gym in the 13,000 block of Highway 6, and that's where parents can meet up with students.
We have some horrible news to report to you. We just received confirmation that there are 8 fatalities in this particular situation at Santa Fe High School. We don't know the breakdown, whether those were all students or whether those were students and teachers, or whether it was that officer that was reported down earlier. But we are being told that
helped catch the suspect.
A Baytown man is facing charges after leaving his daughter in a hot car.
We're getting from those who are conducting the investigation at Santa Fe High School right now. Just 8 dead. That is horrible.
It's hard to even fathom what these families are going through, and we're hoping that families have been able to be notified. I hope that they're not just trying to get a hold of their student and they don't know, but I'm sure that they're working hard to identify these people. Again, we don't know if there are teachers besides just students, and earlier we'd heard that there might be an officer down, so we're talking about quite a few people involved in this.
This unfolded about 8 o'clock this morning. There is confusion as to whether a fire alarm was pulled before the shooting, or whether the shooting began and then the fire alarm was pulled by a teacher in order to alert all of the students in the building to get out. But either way, it's just a terrible situation when you have 8 fatalities with a shooter who some say was dressed with a trench coat and wearing boots, walking into a classroom and firing at several of the students inside. But it apparently ended up walking to another area where additional individuals were shot. We're told that he had a sawed-off shotgun, a semi-automatic sawed-off shotgun, and was also armed with a pistol.
And we do know that from hearing from other students that others were injured. So not only have 8 people's lives been taken, but others were injured as well. We talked to one girl who was just devastated that her friend was hit, she said, just above the knee. So she was in the hospital recovering from a gunshot wound. We don't know how many others were injured, but we do know that there are other injuries besides just those multiple deaths.
On Twitter, I was reading that at least one of the injured was taken to UTMB by ground. Did not say what condition that individual was in. It's just that they were treating that individual, and I think he was transferred to another hospital for additional treatment. But as you were saying, a lot of injuries, but a horrible situation because you got 8 deaths. We do not know whether those deaths were of students or of administrators or maybe that police officer who was reported to have been down. But the investigation is continuing. Harris County is joining Galveston County. The sheriff's offices are working together also with the Santa Fe Police Department. And the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms is also investigating this particular incident. We were just talking about UTMB in Galveston. Now we have a doctor. Let's listen in.
Are you expecting more patients? We're ready for more patients. As a level 1 trauma center, we're always ready to take patients with life-threatening traumatic injuries, and we're ready for more if they come. We have not heard that any are en route at this point.
I had heard that you had just done a mass casualty drill just a few weeks ago to prepare for something like this. Can you just talk about what it's like right now in the emergency room?
People are taking care of the patients and waiting for more. There's personnel. We had additional personnel in. There's additional trauma surgeons in, anesthesiologists, and they're ready for more patients if they come.
Now, you say you have one in surgery. The other 2, did they go into surgery already, or they did not need surgery?
One's in the emergency department.
We are going back to the scene where you see a heavy police presence on the right. The map on the left is to give you an idea as to where Santa Fe is located, not far from Highway 6, which is being blocked off right now in both directions near Santa Fe High School. Very heavy police presence out in this area because the investigation is taking place. Many officers were inside the building. Many of them have taken dogs or canines inside the building to make sure, because there is nothing left as a threat inside the building. They do have one individual. There are reports that we have seen on Twitter, but we have not been able to confirm that there may have been an additional person that the authorities would be looking for, but we do not know that for sure. But right now, one person is in custody. We have a situation where 8 fatalities have occurred, and we are trying to gather additional information regarding what has happened. Harris County Sheriff's Office is assisting the Galveston County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Santa Fe Police Department, trying to get everything, trying to figure out a motive. Why would someone do something like this?
And we have an update from Sheriff Ed Gonzalez saying now 1 person is in custody, a 2nd person being detained. An injured police officer is being treated, and at this time it looks like they don't know the extent of his injuries, but they're checking into it. And so that is a big update. We've been waiting to find out exactly what is up with who's involved in this. Again, 1 person in custody, a 2nd one being detained. And that answers that question of why there were so many questions about could there be 2 people involved in this. But the great thing is it sounds like the situation now contained, even though this is one heartbreaking day of news. And if you think about the parents who took their children to school today and they will never take them home again, it is gut-wrenching to even fathom what they're going to be going through. And I think it's a time for our community to come together and to support them, to love them, to pray for them, to do anything we can to help in this time of need.
You know, many of them have seen what has happened in other parts of the country and thinking that it could never happen at their school, could never happen in their community. Today is a wake-up call for many of those parents, many of those students, and it's a very sad day for some of the parents who may not have their children to take to school, to pick up, to talk to hug, to love for the rest of their lives now.
And all of this started just as students got to school this morning. It happened just before 8 o'clock. They were all in first period. Some of the students that we talked to say they had just finished their finals and they were really excited about having a movie day in one of their classes today. And it was going to be a fun, laid-back day when all of their lives changed forever because of 1, possibly 2 people it's just unfathomable.
It really is, because you'd never think that something like this would happen in your own backyard. And this morning, it has. There have been folks taken to several hospitals. UTMB is still awaiting others who have been injured in this, but it has been considered a mass casualties situation. We have had reports that 8 people have lost their lives because of this shooter, who some say was dressed in a trench coat and boots, who was wielding a shotgun, a sawed-off shotgun, semi-automatic, according to one student, and a pistol as well. First period will never be the same at this school from now on.
No, and it's so hard to think about the people who witnessed this, because they were sitting there in class. We keep hearing that this was in near the art section of school, near the band hall, and gunman ran in and yelled "surprise" and opened fire, is what students are telling us. And if you just picture, if someone yells "surprise," you look up thinking something entirely different than someone shooting at you.
Something that just came across Twitter, not confirmed, but very important information. It says that law enforcement has confirmed 8 deaths at Santa Fe High School in Santa Fe after a white male shooter opened fire, threw pipe bombs into several classrooms, and now the FBI is on the scene. That's the first indication of a pipe bomb.
And perhaps that's why everybody said it was so loud and they could hear it from so far away, because everybody was outside away from the school.
And that could explain the possibility of 1 or 2 or maybe more of the deaths that are being credited to this this shooter right now. But with the FBI on the scene, they will be able to gather additional evidence and hopefully be able to come back with something very concrete that authorities will be able to look at.
And that would make sense.
It would help them determine a motive.
It would also make sense of why we're seeing so many dogs here. They may be looking to see if there are any more bombs. If that's the situation, it would certainly make sense. And we understand that President Trump has been tweeting about this morning as well. The last one that I'm seeing from him about 10 minutes ago, he says, "School shooting in Texas, early reports not looking good. God bless all." And one thing that I will encourage everyone to do is keep your comments clean on social media. I'm just begging you from a parent myself. I can't imagine if my child was involved in all of this and was at that school. And it's so political online right now. Just remember, these were children. These were kids who had their whole lives ahead of them, and their lives have been snuffed out so shortly. And it just breaks my heart to see people being rude and mean and just another day, at school. It's just so sad to be able to see what's going on out there right now on social media.
Another day at school that you thought was going to be just like the day before, and all of a sudden it takes a terrible turn with someone walking into the building. One student said that the gunman walked into a classroom and yelled out "surprise," which drew the attention of a lot of individuals. Then he apparently started shooting. But now there's an indication that there may have been pipe bombs thrown in the building as well.
And we were trying to figure out all along why one student says that the shots rang out. He ran, told a teacher, and then the fire drill came, and then everyone ran out and then heard the loud booms. Now all the timing is beginning to make a little more sense. Again, we have not officially heard that from the sheriff or any officer on scene. We're waiting to hear from that, but it certainly is painting a broader picture of what could have unfolded at that school. I know that for now it looks like officers are doing everything they can to respect the children, the students, and their families, and even the people who were right there in that classroom were not detained. They were not held to tell what was going on. They were allowed to go home to be with their families, and hopefully that will help them get through just this really tough time right now.
Very tough time for the students, and then for the parents who were so very concerned and wanting to know exactly what happened with their child. It's unfortunate that several of those parents will not be able to touch, hug, love, and take to school and pick up from school their loved one. Just a crazy situation, but it's happened in our own backyard. You were talking about the politicizing of the shooting online. Yes, there are a lot of comments that some are negative against the NRA, but there are some in support of the NRA as well. But it is, once again, bringing up the conversation as to weapons in schools and what we should do regarding weapons in our children.
And so many people say that this needs to go back to just making sure that we're doing anti-bullying programs, that we're doing more inclusive programs in our schools to make sure that no child feels left behind, that they're getting mental health help that they need to make sure that if this is a mental health situation, that there aren't stigmas on it, that kids can get help, that it's okay if you're having problems to reach out to get help, and for us not to ignore those signs if we see anybody in our family struggling, that there is so much help available if you see that. And so many times in these situations, we do see the warning signs, and people will say, I always knew something was off.
No one does anything.
We don't know that that's the case in this situation, but so many times it ends up being that way.
Sometimes you have to speak up when something just seems out of the ordinary, and you may feel that you're hurting someone, but in a sense, you may be helping that individual. And it's not just that individual, but many of the students, they're going to need some counseling. They are going to need to have someone comfort them and let them know that going back to school is going to be okay. This is an isolated incident. It's just that this isolated incident mirrors several other incidents that have taken place in the country over the past few years.
And I do think that this will affect a whole lot of students and all of the ISDs around us in the greater Houston area, because so many of these teenagers are on social media. They're going to know what happens. They watch the news, and it just brings that fear into them that you don't want them to have of being scared to go to school. I'm sure it's going to affect a lot of kids. So I just encourage you to talk to them about it, talk about the plans that are in place, remind them of their own school and their rules of how to protect themselves in a situation like this, and hopefully that will empower them to remember that a lot of these students were able to follow that plan and get out safely.
You know, when you were talking about, getting help for individuals who seem to be loners, who seem to be to themselves, who don't want to socialize with many of the other students, they should not be afraid, or their parents should not be afraid, because there is no stigma. You want to try and help. You don't want to hurt, and you don't want a situation to end up the way this particular situation does. We don't know whether that is the case with this particular shooter, but it is something to think about. If something seems out of the ordinary, as officials tell us many times, say something. And that may be the something that may save many, many lives.
We have been watching what a lot of our local leaders have to say about all of this, and Mayor Turner tweeted just a little while ago as well. Reading it now from Sylvester Turner, my heart and concerns are with Santa Fe students, parents, faculty, and law enforcement as we watch the sad campus shooting unfold. And it's so true. I think it's important right now, and I'm glad he brought that up, to remember law enforcement. These first responders have such a hard time going there, and if we're talking about mass casualties, how difficult it would be for them to walk into this, to have to investigate this, to have to inform the families that they have lost their loved one. And I know it's really tough for them as well. So definitely need to keep them in our thoughts.
Well, it's not just officials, but I do believe that parents are going to start speaking up, because I know I've spoken to parents outside of this particular incident, and they're just fed up with the situation that's taking place around the country. Too many young people are becoming the victims of violence, and that violence is taking place inside what was considered at one time a safe haven, a school. but that no longer seems to be the case. Now, I know many schools have taken it upon themselves to bring in additional security. Some have automatic locks on the doors. You have to be buzzed in if you are coming to see your own child, much less someone who's a visitor trying to come into the school itself. Precautions have been taken, and it's just that sometimes those precautions aren't enough. And there are some people online who are calling for some type of a change to save our children.
So many times in a situation like this, people are just intrigued about what's going on. They want to go be a part of it. Maybe they want to go just give support to this community. We just want to encourage you to keep your distance. If you had planned to go anywhere near this area, it's important to know that Highway 6 near this high school is still shut down, so traffic is backed up because of that. But this investigation's ongoing. They're going to be there for quite some time. All of the students are being taken by bus to Alamo Gym along Highway 6, not too far from there, 13,000 block of Highway 6. Again, any parents who haven't been able to get a hold of your child, if they go there, that's where you would be able to go to be reunited with them. And this comes on a Friday, so luckily these students will have the weekend off to be able to regroup, to work through this. And I would assume that school very well could be closed for the first of next week as they work through all of this, as the investigation continues and the cleanup continues, because students told us that a lot of glass was shattered during whatever happened inside of that school.
You know, whether it was from the shotgun or whether it was from the handgun.
Or a pipe bomb, if there was one.
Pipe bombs as well. This information is on Twitter, and we're not sure that it is correct. However, it does make you want to think. There have been 22 school shootings in this year alone, and there have only been 20 weeks in 2018. That is a horrible thing to be thinking in terms of, because the year isn't even over, not even half over, and we've got 22 school shootings.
So more than one a week, if those numbers are correct.
If you want to average it that way, yes. But just a terrible situation that you really don't want to think about. You never want something like this to happen in your community. You never want something like this to happen at your school. But today becomes a reality check for a lot of people in our community.
And it's been just so eye-opening to talk to these students this morning, and multiple have called us, and I've even seen some people asking, why are you talking to the students? It's not right. But the students, like we see in many of these school shootings, want to be heard. They want people to know what happened, and they have been anxious to talk to us, and I'm just so impressed with how strong they're being. And I just encourage any of you out there who were a part of this just to remember to seek help. The counseling is okay, and it is very acceptable, and it is very helpful. It's so important to realize when you go through something like this that post-traumatic stress disorder can happen. It can take place to anybody, and parents, I would just encourage you to be on the lookout for those signs. It could even happen to you in fear of your child. So just know that it's okay to seek help, and do that. Make sure that you talk and work through these emotions, because this is one of the biggest life stressors that any family could possibly go through.
Exactly. We have a tweet coming from Senator John Cornyn, and we'd like to read that up on the screen right now. Senator Cornyn says, just talked to Galveston County Sheriff's Department for update on Santa Fe school shooting. Local, state, and federal authorities are on the scene. We do know that the FBI is there. We do know that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is there on the scene, as well as Santa Fe Police, the Galveston Sheriff's Department, as well as the Harris County Sheriff's Office as well.
So many different people involved in this, and it's just incredible to see how partnerships like this come together to try to piece all the questions together. Let's check in with Sally now, who's been monitoring social media for us and keeping an eye on some of this important information coming in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Vice President Mike Pence just tweeting out this video here. He says, to the students, families, teachers of Santa Fe High School, all of those affected, and the entire community, we are with you. You are in our prayers, and you are in the prayers of the American people. And if you haven't checked contact Santa Fe ISD in a bit. This is their latest update. They say that the situation has been contained, of course. All campuses are operating under their regular schedules. We want to reiterate this. And again, if you haven't heard, these students were all bused to the Alamo Gym that's located on Highway 6. And so that is where parents can reunite with their students at this time at the Alamo Gym. John Wayne Ferguson, who is a reporter down in Galveston County, just posted this, that UTMB is treating 3 people right now from Santa Fe, 2 adults and 1 person under 18. Another adult is in surgery. 1 adult is being assessed in the ER, and the younger person is no longer in the ER, being treated in the hospital. So 3 people are at UTMB. We don't know yet what other hospitals or if some of the other students and teachers are at other hospitals. President Trump also posting this on his Twitter account: school shooting in Texas, early reports not looking good. God bless all. And Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says he is on the scene now. Of course, Harris County helping with Santa Fe Police, Galveston County. This is a multi-agency event because of the amount of fatalities, again, confirmed 8 dead. He says it's no longer an active situation. The personnel are treating the injured, and that information is still preliminary, but there are multiple casualties. Again, we have been able to confirm 8 dead. We do not have a number on the number of injured. And we also want to let you know that he also tweeted out that 1 person has been, is in custody, has been arrested. Another person has been detained. We're still waiting to hear whether that person is an alleged accomplice or what exactly his relationship is to the shooter. We also know an officer has been injured and is being treated. And Nick Powell, a reporter for the Chronicle, shared this bit of information after talking with the assistant principal at Santa Fe. She told him, quote, "I want to tell parents to stay calm and be there for your student. Comfort and keep a good eye on your student, and make sure if they want to talk about it or get sad or frustrated about the whole situation, just be there for them." And I think you can't share that bit of information enough today. We understand that there are social workers and other people who are showing up at hospitals. I'm sure that there are counselors at this Alamo Gym where students are being reunited with their parents. It's so important that parents know how to talk to their kids in times of tragedy and in times of horrific circumstances like what these kids, that no kids.
This country, this community, everybody in this town, this whole town was out here for their kids this morning. That right there does not represent this town. It may represent one person's opinion, but you never come to a place like this with a damn pistol on your side. And I'm sorry for cursing, but that makes me sick to my stomach, okay? I could have lost my kid here. There's some people here that could have lost their kids here. That's a slap in the face. That is a slap in the face. Yes. That does not need to happen. That does not need to happen at all. That guy should be ashamed being out here.
What's your name, sir?
I'm not going to say my name. I'm not going to say my name, but okay. That is a shame.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Do you have a microphone?
Yes, in my truck.
Let's go. I need to go be with my kid.
Why they told me to switch? Huh? Lynn, just come with me.
Just a crazy situation. Now, we did have an interview with a student earlier, and we'd like to bring you a portion of that interview right now. We spoke to her probably about 45 minutes to an hour ago. Let's listen.
Take us from the beginning, like what happened?
We heard the alarms go off, and then, everybody's just following the same normal procedure. We go outside, we stand in the grass, wait till the principal say it's clear. And next thing you know, just all these teachers saying, get over here, get over here. And then we hear boom, boom, at least 3 times. And everyone's screaming, run, run. Me and my friend Ryan Calvert ran as fast as we could to the forest to get shelter. And that's when I called my mom because I started having an asthma attack. I didn't know what to do at that point. I was just so scared.
Where were you in relation to the art class area? Because that's where we heard that this all happened.
I was in the history hallway, but when we were outside, everyone heard the gunshots that was out. I know everyone had to hear it. It was loud and clear.
So you heard the fire alarm first, and then after about how long before the gunshots, do you think?
5 minutes.
So several minutes later, then you started hearing gunshots. You were already outside.
Yeah.
Were most kids outside, you think, by the time the shooting had started?
I would say yes, most kids were.
Have you had a chance to speak with your friends? Do you know if anybody's okay?
I texted her and I asked if she was okay. She's doing better.
Better as in
She's in the hospital. Yes, she got shot in the leg, right above the knee to the left. And it's just, I don't think she should be able to have to experience something like this. It's just so terrible. I never thought this would happen to my school. Ever.
What is your name, school?
Dakota Schrader.
Dakota Schrader. S-H?
R-A-D-E-R.
What grade are you in?
10th.
You're in 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
Dakota, you mentioned no kid should have to go through something like this, but sadly, you'll see so many school shootings, so many kids go through this. What do you think about it?
I think it should, the world, I just don't like what it's become to. Every school shooting, just kids getting killed, innocent kids getting killed. Nobody should have to go through that. No family should have to suffer that just because somebody wants to be selfish and go out and hurt other people. It's just not right at all.
Besides your one friend who got injured, is everybody else okay? All the other friends?
I have some more acquaintances that did get injured, but I don't know that much about them.
Was your friend in art class as well? Where was she was in the room where this happened?
Yes, that's her first period.
Could she explain anything to you about what happened? Did she know who came in?
No.
Anything like that? You were just making sure she was okay?
Yeah, I didn't want details. I just wanted to make sure she was fine and that she's alive and that she's okay.
What is your friend's name?
Brianna Quintanilla.
Brianna Quintanilla.
Mm-hmm.
I'm right now on channel 2. I'm sorry. Can you tell me where you were at in school?
Can I move?
The very emotional account there from a student who was in the middle of it all, how scary it must have been to be in the woods, not knowing what was going to happen next, and to be suffering from an asthma attack. What a brave young lady along there with her loving mom to be able to tell us what happened to her and everybody at that school.
You know, still being able to express to us what she saw, what she felt, and what she had to do. But she was very emotional relaying that information to us.
And we've been keeping an eye on what all of our leaders have to say about this. And we saw just a moment ago, Ted Cruz spent some time tweeting this morning saying, now Heidi and I are keeping all of the students and faculty at Santa Fe High School in our prayers this morning, along with all first responders on the scene. Please be safe and heed warnings from local officials. Again, our Texas editor, Ted Cruz, sending out that tweet. And just nice to have the support of everybody taking time this morning to send their love and their heartfelt just condolences to all of the people at that school.
Now, we have heard from several of our leaders, and I know there will probably be others weighing in, but this is a time for them to really show their leadership, and that is to make sure that they can calm down the feelings of many of the parents who are probably extremely angry at what has happened at their children's school today.
I tell you what, it sure makes me want to go home and just hug my children so tightly today, and I know that so many parents are feeling that way right now, and I really can't believe that there are at least 8 families in our area, in our very own community, who won't be able to do that. Tom Ziska has made his way to the scene and joins us now. Tom, tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
Melissa, we are outside the middle school here. This is the designated spot where students were moved away from the high school, being reunited with parents. Chris Cole is a sophomore at the high school. He was not inside at the time. His dad, Donald Brazil, is here as well. Donald, let me talk to you first. We were just talking. We're both parents. Yes. We hate even the thought of this happening. Tell me what goes through your heart, your head, when you hear what you heard.
You become real scared. And you're hoping that it ain't your kid. You know, after you find out it ain't your kid, start, praying for the rest of the kids and feeling sorry for what's going on and hoping that it ain't his friend or he'd emotion, disturb or something like that.
So your son was telling me that there are fights in school. There's pushing, there's shoving. There was when we were kids, too. Yes. This did not happen. You see this elsewhere. Your thought that this is happening now in your own backyard.
Yes, what we're hoping is, that they could beef up security and, the kids start talking more to their parents about what's going on or what they see. That way, if they have some kind of student meeting at the school, we could talk about it or something, or see what we could help them better get their education.
We are still hearing reports, and it is still kind of a fluid situation. But authorities are saying there are people who have been killed inside the school this morning. How does that change everything for the people who live here, you think?
Man, it's a disaster. It changed, and it makes you more want to be aggressive of how you see your kid going to school. Now it's more afraid of what's going on. How can we prevent this? You know, you done took prayer out of the long school, praying and stuff like this, and you get this, and disobedient. And you just try to monitor your kid and hope that they're not in a bad area with other kids.
Chris, let me bring this back to you. You were telling me about, certainly in the front end of the school, tempers flared, that sort of thing. How does a couple of people having a problem and a beef between them end up like this at your school?
Well, usually it's like over like something dumb, like a girl, and from there it usually just escalates over one thing, and then if they start pushing each other, the next thing that happens is a big fight just breaks out.
We don't know, it has not been identified who's responsible for this, so we don't want to pin this on any one person, but my own daughter, a sophomore in high school, can say, oh yeah, there's so-and-so, we always steer clear of that particular person. Are there students like that at your school where you just try to give them some extra space because nothing good ever happens?
Well, it depends on the person, but to me, I personally think that everyone deserves someone, and I try to be friendly with everyone, and I ask people what's wrong when there's something wrong.
More of that would be probably a good thing. You were telling me you were not in the school at the time of the violence, but you talked to a friend of yours who was. What did she tell you?
Well, how it was for her is that she was in the art room, and the door was closed, and they was trapped in there. And next thing she knows is that she heard gunshots go off. And that's basically all she's told me from there.
You told me they were barricaded in that room until police came and escorted them out. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we're glad your friend is safe. We're glad you're safe. Donald, we're glad your son is safe right now. So keep being a friend to people, all right? That helps. Thank you, gentlemen. I do appreciate it. All right. As I send it back to you in the studio, I'm looking around here. We're on one side. If you want to take a look here, we're on one.
Through so much,
but you can see the frustration in the face of that parent that he was speaking to, and then also the young man. I am amazed at how they are able to express.
We grieve for the terrible loss of life and send our support and love to everyone affected by this absolutely horrific attack. To the students, families, teachers, and personnel at Santa Fe High, we're with you in this tragic hour, and we will be with you forever. My administration is determined to do everything in our power to protect our students, secure our schools, and to keep weapons out of the hands of those who pose a threat to themselves and to others. Everyone must work together at every level of government to keep our children safe. May God heal the injured, and may God comfort the wounded, and may God be with the victims and with the victims' families. Very sad day. Very, very sad. On another note, very positive note, I'm honored to be here today with so many leaders from across the nation who are committed to the crucial issue of prison reform. Joining us today are several members.
Systematic search of the school just to make sure there's no additional students that are either injured or hiding. And so that's ongoing right now. And then we're also making sure that we conduct a thorough search to make sure that there's no other devices or anything that could be at the school. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire Santa Fe community, to the Santa Fe ISD, to all those that have been injured and suffered loss of life out here. But at this point, we do have an active crime scene that we're investigating. They could expect a large police presence out here. We're being told there's a family unification center at the 13,300 block of Highway 6 where parents could reunite with their students. And additional information will be forthcoming. Right now, it's very limited. We're just one of the agencies that responded out here to offer support. And so that's what we have out here. There's multiple fatalities. It could be anywhere between 8 to 10, the majority being students. One male is in custody.
Fantastic.
Both are believed to be students here at the school, and that's what we have at this moment. And this happened a little bit before 8 o'clock this morning.
Sheriff, about the type of weapons?
We don't know that yet. We're searching the entire school, and it's an active crime scene. So all the details about specific injuries and firearms evidence will come later.
What time did he get access?
I don't know the exact time, but it's my understanding it happened right before school started, so I would guess it happened anywhere between 7:30 and 8 is my understanding. I don't have the exact time.
How old was he? How old is he?
Just that he was a student here at the high school, so I would imagine in his teens.
Algo en español, por favor.
Sí, estamos aquí en la escuela de Santa Fe High School. Tenemos confirmado que hay varias personas muertos aquí en el local. Es probable que sea entre 8 a 10, incluyendo estudiantes y adultos. Hay una persona que está en custodia. Nos dicen que fue un estudiante, y otra segunda persona que es persona de interés que también le están haciendo preguntas. Pasó antes de que comenzó las clases.
So a bit of news there from the Harris County Sheriff. He says that it is believed that the shooter was a student at the school, Santa Fe High School, where this shooting took place. He also indicated that there may be more victims. 8 to 10 is now the number, according to the sheriff. But clearly, this is still a fluid situation, and they don't entirely have a handle on it. Also, we are told that the other person who was detained also might be a student at the school.
Right, so they are both minors. That person is a person of interest, technically, right now, questioning him. He also mentioned, when some of the reporters were asking what kind of weapon was used, because earlier we had read reports that it was perhaps a shotgun. They haven't actually, it seems, located that weapon, because right now they are combing through the school trying to find the weapon. This shooter was intercepted by an armed officer on campus who prevented this from getting worse. But as this officer himself was clipped in the process by the gunman, the gun, it seems, has not been found, or perhaps they have, and they're just kind of holding that information to themselves because, of course, before an investigation is over, they like to keep as much information close to the vest, clearly, before they get all the answers.
There is word that at least one police officer from Santa Fe was injured. The Santa Fe School District, we believe, a Santa Fe School District officer was injured. Again, with shotgun pellets, they spread after the blast leaves the muzzle, and a number of people will be grazed and receive relatively minor injuries. Unfortunately, if you're close to that shotgun, depending on the load that's being used, the injuries can be catastrophic. But it appears that this one police officer just was grazed by a shotgun pellet, and certainly ought to be able to enjoy a full recovery.
Yeah. Joe Cardinale joins me now again on the phone. He's a former NYPD commander. You know, I want to first of all just praise the police department for getting this suspect in custody alive.
You know, it's tough. Sometimes they're on a suicide mission, and they'll do everything to have the police take them out. You know, suicide by police. And in this instance, it's very good that they have him in custody to get the motive. The fact that he got into the school is disturbing, as it is in all the other cases. With a shotgun, it's big, it's long, it's not a handgun that could be concealed that easy. And once again, you know,
secure, but he did say that several people were taken to local hospitals. He did not give any conditions on any of them or talk about any injuries that they received. And he did say that law enforcement is still on the scene because this is an active investigation. They are going through the building to make sure that there are no threats, but also to see if there are any individual students or administrators or teachers who may have hidden inside the building in order to escape what was going on. So the investigation is continuing.
Also looking to see if there are any other devices. He wasn't sure if there were any to begin with, but he said in an investigation like this is exactly what they do. They're making sure that that building is safe and secure and that there are no other devices anywhere. This was the first time that we had heard anybody mention that there could possibly be up to 10 fatalities, the majority of those young lives, the majority of them students. And so he obviously is right in the middle of this investigation and still trying to find out everything that he can. But again, telling us that that shooter was a student at Santa Fe High School.
And there is a second person that is being detained and questioned. They don't know whether he is working with or has been working with the individual who is under arrest for the shooting. But the second person is also thought to be one of the students at Santa Fe High School.
Right now, we're waiting to hear from President Trump. We understand that he is lining up a news conference at this hour, and we will certainly bring you that just as soon as we get more information. Obviously, in a situation like this, so many people have a lot of things to say, and they do turn to the president. And at a time like this, it's getting very politicized online about people talking, obviously, about gun control. It's such a heated debate, but I would just encourage you at this time to just remember the lives, to try to help support the people who are hurting and not turn this into, I guess, basically a hate war online, which is what I'm really seeing quite a bit of.
Well, we need to think about the parents out of those students who are no longer with us and the students who witnessed what took place today, because they could have been victims themselves. But to reiterate what we know so far, shortly before 8 o'clock this morning, someone walked into Santa Fe High School, went into one of the classrooms, yelled surprise, and apparently opened fire. It is believed that he pulled the fire alarm, but there is a report that a teacher may have pulled that fire alarm. And once the fire alarm was pulled, there were several booms. We had been seeing information that was possibly the booms could have come from pipe bombs, and that's why many of the dogs that a lot of the law enforcement agencies have been in that building and still are around that building searching through it to make sure that there are no other explosives.
And students also described hearing shattering glass and glass just flying everywhere. Nate Griffin has made his way near the school. He joins us now live to tell us more about what he is witnessing. Nate, explain to us where you are and what's happening where you are.
Well, we're actually at the agricultural center, if you will, of the high school, and from what we also understand is that the media press conference is going to take place. This is the media staging area. We don't know what time it's going to happen. We don't know who's going to speak, but at this time, this is where the media is to receive information about that terrible tragedy that happened at Santa Fe High School. That is as much as we know at this particular point in time. I've been hearing, and it seems as though it has been confirmed that 8 people have been killed in this particular situation, and we also understand several others are wounded. We spoke with a student a little bit earlier who was very near the situation, scared, but able to maintain his composure and get out of there and get to safety. But that is what we have right now. That is where I am. We are awaiting a press conference that's going to be taking place here very, very shortly. Again, do not know what time. We don't know who's going to address us, but we're standing here and standing by, guys.
All right, thanks a lot for that update, Nate. Now we want to check back in with Sally McDonald. She's been monitoring social media for us. Sally.
That's right. The president has just just spoken, and we're going to get to his comments in just a bit here. Also wanted to let you know the Red Cross says that they are on the way to Santa Fe High School, and specifically to the Family Reunification Center, which is at Fritz Burnett Intermediate School at the Alamo Gym. And they are going to be bringing mental health and spiritual care volunteers with them to help all of those affected. First Lady Melania Trump said, "My heart goes out to Santa Fe and all of Texas today." And getting to those comments now from President Trump as we look at this picture here of Harris County Sheriff's Office and multiple agencies that are on the scene there. Many students just in shock that this happened to their school today. The president just said, "We are closely monitoring the situation and federal authorities are coordinating with local officials." He also said, "This has been going on too long in our country. Too many years, too many decades now. We grieve for the terrible loss of life." He also added, "Everyone must work together at every level of government to keep our children safe. May God heal the injured, and may God comfort the wounded, and may God be with the victims and with the victims' family." Very sad day. He said, very, very sad. And he also said, he ended with, "To the students, families, teachers, and personnel at Santa Fe High, we are with you in this tragic hour, and we are with you forever." So that address just took place by the president. He was expected to speak on another topic today, but of course he took the time to comment on this school shooting. We just heard from Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, who says there are 8 to 10 people dead at Santa Fe High School, students and faculty members. Melissa, Jose.
Well, we are continuing to monitor the situation. Thank you, Sally, for that update from social media. On the right, it looks like there are some parents who are still walking around waiting to be reunited with their children. And then on the left, the heavy police presence at Santa Fe High School.
And this after shots rang out at that school. What was a peaceful campus at 7 this morning turned into a living nightmare for so many people a little bit before 8 o'clock. When students heard a fire drill, they went outside, shots were fired. Now 8 to 10 people have lost their lives. Others are in local hospitals. We know of at least 3 people, others who are in the hospital. So this is being called a mass casualty. A lot of students hurting, people running for safety, running to try to get home, running into their parents' arms, and just feeling so vulnerable at this hour. On a weekend that was supposed to be their high school graduation just a few days from now.
You know, and you would think that they were in a safe place, and that's what parents think. A school is a safe haven for their children. However, today they will have to rethink that, because the violence that has gone on in a lot of different schools around the country has finally hit their community, their school, their children's school. It's something that they're going to have to deal with mentally and emotionally for quite some time to come.
And so sad to hear how it all unfolded. We have talked to so many different students who were there in that school. One who said his best friend was right there in the room where the most of the shootings took place. And he said that the shooter walked in, yelled surprise, and then pulled out a sawed-off shotgun and just opened fire. He said that the shooter also had a pistol. Now, we talked and heard from Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez just a few minutes ago, and he had mentioned that he wasn't sure.
Patient by life flight, the other 2 by ambulance. One patient is in critical condition in the OR, middle-aged male. One patient under the age of 18 has been admitted to the hospital, also a gunshot wound to the leg. And then we have a female patient also shot in the leg in good condition also.
And do we know if the person under 18 is a male, female?
I believe it's a male, but I'm not quite sure.
And the person that came in by life flight, was that the critical male in critical condition?
I don't want to presume that was the case. I just don't know. Sorry.
And I'm so sorry. We don't know if that was the officer, is what you're saying, right?
That's correct. I don't know.
We're hearing things on social media about possible needing blood donations. Do you know anything about that? Is there any?
I've not heard that, but we'll check on that. As I've said before, you know, we're prepared for this sort of situation, which includes extra blood for these sorts of multiple situations, multiple patient situations. But right now, as we mentioned earlier, we have our social workers standing by in case family, loved ones show up, and if they know their patients, their loved ones are here at the hospital. We're prepared to help them through this terrible, terrible time.
How long has that critical patient been in surgery for now?
Well, we had our briefing about 40 minutes ago, so I would say about, I don't know when they actually went in, so I don't want to speculate.
For people just joining us, can you just bring us back into that emergency room right now? Obviously, is it chaotic, calming, traumatic? What's happening?
You know, I'm so proud of these folks. We just had a mass casualty drill several weeks ago. They're very well prepared. They're very well organized. They make sure that everybody knows their job. Does it get chaotic at times? Of course. Everybody's trying to do the best they can and move around quickly. But is it something that they know what they're doing? Absolutely. They're all doing they all stay in the right place. They all do the right things, and they're all providing the best care they can.
You know, we saw the chief nurse get really choked up just a few minutes ago.
Look, it's an emotional time. For we have family, we have friends, we have staff members who live in the Santa Fe area. So of course, we're all part of this community. Yes.
Well, that life flight, did that come directly from the scene, or was that from?
That's what I understand. That's what I understand. That it came from the scene and landed here.
But at this time, we have 3 patients in this hospital, one in critical condition who is currently in surgery.
Correct.
A female who was shot in the leg.
Correct.
Who is in good condition, and a male under 18 who also was shot in the leg in good condition. We don't know if he's a student. Is that still something?
I just don't know.
Yeah. You know, can you just, what's the message to people watching at home right now from you guys here at the hospital?
You know, if you need more information, call the school district. You know, we're treating our patients, the ones we know we have here. I'm sure they're doing the best they can to provide the latest information of everyone that's at that school district. And I don't presume to speak to them, but that's what I would do. And our hearts and prayers literally do go out, and I really do mean that.
More patients on the way?
As far as I know, no more patients on the way, but that could change. We'll keep you updated if we learn anything else.
Will there be another briefing with the surgeon?
We still plan on the 11:45 briefing, yes.
You said the male in surgery is in his 30s?
Middle age.
Middle age.
Middle age.
And chest injury, is that correct?
Yes, chest area, is what I would describe it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you,
Appreciate it.
That is where family reunifications are taking place at this hour. We've heard from a lot of our leaders, and that is going to provide a lot of support to many of those in the community of Santa Fe, because it's not just the parents, it's not just the students, it is that community. It's a small community just south of Houston, and that community is suffering right now because of what happened. The tragedy of a shooting. Someone believed to be a student who walked into a classroom brandishing what one student described as a sawed-off shotgun and a pistol, and apparently wearing a long trench coat and wearing boots. Those are things that we've seen in other school shootings. Those who committed the crime were wearing long trench coats. They seem to have been loners, but no one knows specifically about this particular individual. But that individual is in custody, and a second person is being detained and questioned by authorities as we speak.
And as soon as that name of the shooter or shooters or whoever's involved with this are released, then those answers will probably start coming to us, and we'll be able to tell you more about them and perhaps what students are saying could have been a motive. We do know that besides just students shot, Sheriff Ed Gonzalez said earlier that an officer was also injured. So we know that officers injured, 8 to 10 students and faculty killed in just such a senseless shooting that happened today.
You know, many of those who were injured were taken down to Galveston, UTMB for treatment, and they were awaiting others, but we don't know how many people have been injured. Our Greg Rugen has arrived on the scene. Greg, what can you tell us?
Jose, I'm about 3.5 miles west of the high school and on Highway 6. And as you can see behind me, Texas State Troopers have closed off this road with the help of the Texas Department of Transportation. No traffic getting in. We are told that a bomb squad has come through here. They are searching for possible explosive devices in the area. Now, we don't have absolute confirmation what they're looking for, but we know a bomb squad is moving through here, that they are looking for something, and that, as you can see, no one is getting in. That's for everybody's safety. All the traffic is being turned around. We have DPS troopers on the scene here, along with TxDOT officials. They are making sure no one's getting in. That's frustrating for those trying to reach the scene to cover it, to find possible loved ones. But as you can see right now, no traffic getting in, and it's going to probably be that way till they know the situation is secure. We have confirmed through a DPS trooper that a bomb squad has come through here. They may be looking for some type of explosive device. That's what we've got right now. We're going to be on the scene and try to get back to you as soon as we get some more information.
All right, thanks a lot. Greg Rugen reporting live from the scene. And he says he's 3.5 miles away from the actual scene.
Blocking it that far out.
That is really something, because the authorities usually just set up a perimeter around a particular area. This time, that has extended on.
All right, thanks, Greg, for that update. It was a very important one, and it sounds like, from what he said, some parents may even be in some of that backed up traffic still trying to get there, because if you think about it, some people could have dropped off their student and then headed to Houston to go to work. I mean, there's no telling. They weren't necessarily in that neighborhood and couldn't get to them immediately. It's got to be frustrating, but they're trying to make sure that nobody else is injured if there is some type of explosive device. We don't know if that information is coming from, again, this word on the street that there were pipe bombs in there, or if perhaps the suspect in
actual scene as this broke out. Anything?
Yeah, it does. It's not dissimilar to some of the other, very horrific shootings, to the extent that the shotgun, as you know, is a gruesome weapon. It has a spread pattern, devastating injuries, and has the capability of getting multiple victims with one discharge. So it's an extremely lethal and deadly weapon. And I think what you had is a scattershot approach. I would speculate, obviously very, very early for fact, but I would speculate based on that volume and the known time that elapsed, and known at this time, that it was frantic and quick and scattershot within the confines of that art area.
All right. Pat, I'm joined on the couch today by Melissa Francis as we cover this breaking news.
Does it strike you, Pat, that, witnesses described either a shotgun or a rifle? It's a pretty big weapon to bring into school undetected. I mean, what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me a couple things, Melissa. It tells me first that the school, and not assigning blame and not money quarterbacking, and it's way too premature to speculate with precision, but schools need someone at the entry point, at the points of ingress. They need someone there. Ideally, it should be an SRO, an armed security officer. When someone comes in with an overt weapon, whether it was a rifle or a shotgun, that cannot be concealed without great effort, and generally it cannot be concealed. So let's assume that it was similar to Sandy Hook, where it came in with an overt weapon, an obvious weapon, entered the primary door into the facility, into the building. Things should have been in place. There should have been people, processes in place, perhaps even technology. But the fact is, he had unfettered access, by all accounts right now, charged into the school with a large weapon. Not that he had secreted a 9mm under his coat or had a revolver in his pocket. This is overt, in your right from the jump, as soon as he came in the door, by the facts that are established this early in the investigation. Extremely troubling, Melissa.
Yeah. Pat, is there any sort of, cross-communication, like after some other type of violence in America, like a terrorist hit, you'll get, like the ATF, you'll get the FBI, everybody's sharing information. I'm looking at the list of 7 school shootings from just this year, from 2018, and all the details here. And I'm wondering if there is a cross-section where people at your level get together and you talk to each other like they do at the federal level.
Well, I can tell you that there is both I would say, cross-pollination or an exchange, a discourse, certainly, between the agencies. It's heightened, in my view. There's also the public-private partnership. There's a partnership between agencies like my agency. We're deeply involved in school safety and mitigating risk and identifying risk for a range of schools across the nation. So the fact is, the people and the public-private partnership, which I've seen enhanced recently, right? It certainly is better to have more cooks in the kitchen. We certainly can learn from each other by intelligent exchange. I have seen that, and it's very both enlightening and refreshing and informing. So it's good stuff. We need more of it, right?
Well, the reason I ask that specifically, okay, so we looked at how many times this has happened this year, and there are a couple of categories. One is a gun discharged on school property 31 times. But when you drill down, there's 7 school shootings, which appear to be intentional harm to others. Of course, Parkland is on that list as the most. 17 people died, 12 injured. But just to refresh, Marshall County High School, Benton, Kentucky, 2 dead, 15 injured. That was in January. February, of course, was Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in Parkland. In March, we had Great Mills High School, 1 dead, 1 injured. Great Mills, Maryland. Raytown, Missouri, Raytown South High School, 1 injured. That's in April. We had another in April, Forest High School, Ocala, Florida, 1 injured. 1 injured in Highland High, Palmdale, California in May. And then now Santa Fe High School, between 8 and 10 dead, according to the Harris County Sheriff's Department, and 12 injured so far that we know about, 3 in the hospital, Santa Fe, Texas, outside of Houston. So as you look at that list and kind of where we've been, that's why I asked the question, is there a concerted effort to get together across populators you put, maybe to make a difference?
Yes, there is. Clearly the facts support an upward trend. Trending up, and that is the absolute wrong direction. Right? The repeated instances, the frequency, the heightened fatalities, all in the wrong direction. So certainly a collaboration between the agencies, both federal, state, local, as well as very serious, pragmatic, and intelligent exchanges between the public-private sectors, so that they obtain funding from the great President Trump. He has certainly threatened us enough with it, so I think it's time that some checks have to be written. There has to be funding, there has to be technology, and people and processes. It's 3 aspects. Anything else, Harris, is a false narrative and falls squarely into the myth. It's just empty rhetoric. It's been rebounding off the walls endlessly, and the deaths just keep on coming. They just keep on coming. It's horrifying.
Pat Brosnan, as always, former NYPD detective, along for breaking news with us today. We appreciate your perspective and your expertise. I'm going to ask you to stand by as we get the next briefing and learn information. We'll want to tap into your experience again. Thank you. A short time ago, President Trump actually spoke about this, his remarks atop prison reform gathering that he's hosting today. He spoke about it, and we want to show that to you now.
We're with you in this tragic hour, and we will be with you forever. My administration is determined to do everything in our power to protect our students, secure our schools, and to keep weapons out of the hands of those who pose a threat to themselves and to others.
Forensics taking apart police crime scenes, children killed today, and we go now to another expert we trust. Ted Williams, a former D.C. police detective, by phone. Ted, thank you for being with us. Ted, I would ask you first, just from what you've learned about this, and the story has changed in the last hour or so as the number of dead has risen. What your experience tells you that we should be prepared for in this?
Here we go again. As you know, Harris, we had the Parkland where 17 were killed, and now we've got 8 to 10 here and many injured. And it seems to be just a sad, vicious cycle of unexpected killings here in these various schools. What is happening right now is that law enforcement is having to put together the case to try to determine the motive behind this. They're trying to determine if there are other individuals that are actually involved. It is my understanding, and this is unconfirmed, that he may have had a sawed-off shotgun and a pistol, and that he may have, and again, this is unconfirmed, walked into this classroom, said surprise, and opened fire. These are things that are just unexpected. And we think about it, Harris, these are innocent young people in a classroom trying to get an education, and here it is, they are targets and under siege. It's very troubling.
As a police officer, it seems, and you probably heard my conversation just briefly previously with Pat Brosnan, it seems like there's an uptick, though. I mean, when you look at the last 6 months, certainly those numbers are jarring and how often this is happening. So as police officers, identifying this before it happens is critical. I mean, there were so many balls that were dropped in Parkland, and we don't know the total story of what they knew about these two people who've been apprehended now and what they didn't know. But how are things changing at the detective level to prevent, not just answer to?
Well, I think what you're finding throughout the country is every time that we have one of these kinds of carnage, massacres, law enforcement officers from all over the country come together and they try to put into place situations and that would assist them if, in fact, they're faced with this kind of carnage that they're faced with at the Santa Fe High School there this morning. It is not easy, and what is going on, Harris, is we have a lot of copycats. And we have a lot of people who don't mind being shot or going out as long as they can have their 5 seconds of fame. And so what is happening in most of the school districts is they're trying to put a psychological pattern of what makes up these kinds of individuals, and that's not easy.
Yeah. Ted, this is Melissa Francis. I would ask you, you know, at my own children's school, they have tried to take matters into their own hands. There's a single point of entry, and when the kids enter, they shake each child's hand, kind of look them over as they're going in. I'm not sure the kids even really know that what's being done is being done for security. There's a long hallway that they go down. There's no other way to get in or out of the school. The front door is locked at all times, and it doesn't feel like a lockdown, but you can tell if you have an educated eye and you look around what the purpose is. I wonder that in a city is possible because we have the tall buildings and they're attached on either side to other buildings. There aren't as many, in many ways, in and out. How do you set up that kind of safety if you're running a school, but as we look at the aerial photos of where this took place, you know, it's open on every side. How do you fortify a school in a way that, you know, isn't putting barbed wire around the outside if there are multiple, you know, sort of angles at it?
You know, it is not easy, Melissa, and I got to tell you, when I listen to and the way you described your children's school, I also think that that in and of itself could be dangerous too. It can be dangerous for many different reasons. One, if you had a fire in that institution, it would be very difficult for students to be able to get out if they're going through just one door. On the other hand, if you have an active shooter that wants to get into the school, and try to remember, with the one here in Santa Fe, it may be, and I don't know this, that he was in fact a student there. I think that has been reported. And if he was, he himself would have access to the school.
He would, but somebody would notice him going in with a very large weapon like the one we're describing. And I think also I would say, in fairness to the schools here, they certainly have fire exits. It's just that they're alarmed, you know. So anyway, go ahead.
And I understand, but that's just that you don't always are able to notice someone. You can notice them if they may have a large weapon, but if someone has a gun and going into the school and they're a student, it may not, unless you're inspecting their backpack and unless you're doing a pat-down search of them with each and every student, you're not going to be able to actually get that kind of a person. And it seems as though this person here at this school, I don't know if he had a sawed-off shotgun and he had a pistol. He very well could have hidden those things, even if someone was at the front door to look people or students up and down. It's just, there's no 100% way of keeping students safe, unfortunately, in schools.
You know, Ted, as you and I have covered incidents like this, we've covered terror incidents together on the air. With each time, you are always able to tell us how things are different this time. And I'm wondering if this has become something that local police are going to need some help with in terms of stopping this. I interviewed a young man who was born around the time that Columbine happened, and he went to Parkland High School. And in his lifetime, not much has changed. And so I'm just wondering, where do we take our protection now? And dealing with issues like, you know, we could talk about weaponry, but let's talk about the human issue of this, the failures that maybe have happened around some of these children who, and we don't, failures that maybe have happened around some of these children who, and we don't know this young man or these people's mental capacities, but we do know that about Parkland.
Well, you know, Harris, there's always warning signs, and they may be macro or micro in nature. And it goes back to that, what students have to learn to do is to really look out for each other. And if they have a student that they believe may very well be on the edge, they need to be able to report that person to a counselor. Law enforcement, they are doing their job because they're training, and also students and faculty at various schools. It's sort of like at Melissa School. I would assume there are drills telling students what to do or when. But the question is, we are reactive, but we can't, unfortunately, be proactive because we don't know when and if these things are going to happen.
Melissa?
Yeah. I mean, there is a profile, you know, for students that seem like there's something very wrong going on with them and going down that road. A lot of times it's very difficult in those situations to interact with parents. I mean, it's got to be obviously a multi-pronged approach at this point, right?
Well, absolutely. We need parents, educators, and the community as a whole to get involved. But you know, the community, Melissa, is always concerned about typing a student. And when I use the word typing a student, maybe we have a student that may act strange, but would never bring a gun or a weapon into a school and commit a crime. And if that student is overly typed, then unfortunately that student is overburdened with his own problems. But so I think what happens here is collectively the community, law enforcement, and school administrators all have to work together to try to keep these things from happening like what has happened here at Santa Fe High School.
All right. Ted Williams, former D.C. police detective, we're going to ask you as well to stand by with your expertise and experience. Something has developed here, and we need to go to one of our correspondents, Laura Engel. Apparently, there have reportedly been some sort of explosive devices also coming into play in this story. Laura, what are you finding out?
We are just getting information from the Santa Fe Independent School District, who just tweeted out that possible explosive devices have been located at the school and off campus. At this point, Harris, law enforcement, obviously, who's already on scene, has been brought in to render those devices safe. The school is being evacuated. If anybody sees anything that is suspicious, they are asking people to call 911. This is a developing situation that has just unfolded in the last few moments. We don't know where these possible devices were located on campus, but we do know that some have been found on campus and both off campus.
Can I just step in 1 second? Because I'm wondering now if there is a greater presence from others outside that sheriff's department. Do we know that yet? I mean, when you talk about devices found off campus, now you're going to need a broader reaction of first responders.
Absolutely. We know that this is an all-hands-on-deck situation, that multi-jurisdictions are involved at this point. As far as who is involved at this point, we don't know. But we do know that they've gone on, that they've been doing the sweep. They found something enough to evacuate that school. They found something off campus. Could it be at one of the homes of one of the people that is in custody? We don't know, but certainly that is a developing situation. And real quick, we also got an update from the hospital. The 3 victims, one is the middle-aged man. He's in critical. He's in the operating room right now. Another person, one under the age of 18, possibly a male with a gunshot wound to the leg, and a female who had a gunshot wound to the leg. She is said to be in good condition. So we're keeping a close eye on what's happening at the hospital as well for you here in our newsroom, Harris.
Laura Ingle, explosives reportedly found on and off campus. We will come back to you as you learn more about that situation in our newsroom. Let's go now to Danny Colson, a former FBI Deputy Assistant FBI Director and Hostage Rescue Team Commander. You're joining us by phone. These are disturbing details because we thought that perhaps the situation might be over. Mr. Colson, what are your thoughts at this point?
Well, I think my main thought, very frankly, is that schools have to take this stuff very seriously. My company does a lot of active shooter training, especially for schools, and we